Hello everyone, Jesse Webb, Traders Pro. Market conditions still bearish in a bear market, although we are definitely at an extreme, an oversold extreme. We could go a little bit more, but along the way, you get these bounces along the way. You're not going to get a market that's going to go straight up or straight down forever. And you can see even along these my drawing guy is frozen. There we go. You can see even along these sell-offs, this last one, you get little bounces along the way. So down and bounce and bounce, and we'll see if that's where we're sitting right here. This pattern, it's an interesting perspective still, because this potentially could be a really bullish pattern, and we now have a little bit of fear back in the marketplace. We've got a deep sell-off. It certainly could go back and test a little bit more, but these are locations where we start to look for the momentum to the downside to start to slow. And especially once more news items are known and kind of the uncertainty is pulled out of the marketplace, then we could definitely see a tradable bottom. We've got the momentum, it's kind of moving back up a little bit on that day yesterday. We've seen breadth, which is still pretty negative. We also have the sentiment, which it's still extreme. That 100 is typically the extreme, so you can see we actually have quite a ways to come back. Just not a lot of fear in the market. We do have a lot of volatility in the market, though. One of the things, if you go to the index tab and then market index, and you can just scan by the week, you can see that VIXY, which is an ETF that tracks the VIX, essentially, the volatility index, had a big spike right here. So we're just seeing that. That's kind of what we want to see to create a little bit more supply demand, a little bit more equilibrium, and not so much positivity or negativity on one side or the other. The banking issue certainly is a concern, and we definitely want to see if there are anything hiding in the bushes when it comes to that. But just a massive spike. We also have seen bond spike, and we've talked a little bit about that. This flight to quality, where it's moved higher. In the longer term, though, bonds are kind of bottoming or stabilizing right here, and so it'll be interesting to see if bonds actually, if this is kind of this uptrend, and if we end up getting higher rate or higher bond prices and lower rates, as bonds are moving higher, rates are moving lower. So the market has kind of been doing the Fed's job for it here a little bit, and so we'll see what happens here in the next few months. But these are interesting locations to be paying attention to. I also wanted to go over the sentiment location. If you look at this sentiment chart going back just 3 years, and you can see every time it gets near this low, we get a bounce, we get a tradable bottom. So these are areas to not necessarily capitulate. It is areas to, we were talking about a potential downturn back up in here, and once things turned red and we got that momentum down, it's just about being cautious. Now there's some opportunity to start dipping your toe back in the water, building out that watch list, looking for things that may be interesting at these levels. Buy sell ratio is still pretty extreme right here, but you can also see once those hit those extremes, they tend to pull back and get a little bit of a bounce, a little bit of a reprieve rally. We would see the sells come back down, the buys come back up, and things starting to work back closer together again. So even though we've had heavy momentum to the downside, we could start to see that slow up right here. Remember that one of the ways to utilize or to trade these shorter term moves are by using inverse ETFs. Something like FAZ. These are bearish ETFs, and so they're going to definitely be extended right here. But these can also work, as a tradable opportunity to be trading the other direction. That's not necessarily the core methodology that we utilize, but when something is at this extreme and it's the probability of it getting any higher is slim to none, well, that means that we could be getting a little bit of a pullback here. So as you see some of these ETFs and they're extreme, and you may want to maybe take an opportunity, even if it's a a put option or something like that, something that's shorter term trading, or in this case, just go with the other direction, which is going to be, in fact, I was just looking at the Russell 2000. Let's go Russell 1000. You can see how oversold it is. A lot of those, that wasn't it. It was Russell 3000 here. We've moved pretty sharply to the downside, and we've got there could be a bounce on some of these as well. Russell 2000, there it is. So in the Russell 2000 included a lot of banking stocks, so you've seen it, but it's pulled right back to support. It's deeply oversold. And again, so momentum. So looking for that contrarian type of a reversal, not an extreme. I wouldn't anticipate a full trend reversal, although that could certainly happen. Again, that's kind of what we're watching for right here to see what this next move looks like. But off of these support areas, when we get to extreme and we're starting to see no more selling interest, but buying demand starting to come back in, that can create that shorter term pop there as well. So overall caution is still warranted right here, but we are looking at an extreme location that may create a tradable bounce off of these levels, and then we'll see if it has any sustainability to it. In the new buys list, there are a handful of decent looking patterns. That top one there, actually, ROIV, a nice looking pattern, and then there are a handful that were a little bit choppy that we're moving in here. That's Tootsie Roll, consumer staple stock, AGL, another medical stock. So you're seeing consumer staples. This is Clorox, consumer staples, and some medical stocks in there today. And once we start getting down there wasn't a real big list today, but there were a handful of decent looking stocks to take a look at and add to a watch list, or potentially make a trade on. I think futures are relatively flat this morning. So, I think there was some European banking concern as well that apparently was taken care of. But that's going to be the talking point for the next week or more, is what's happening in the banking world and some of the safety that's happening within some of those banks, and if there are any others that are dealing with that. If you don't have full access to the software, you can sign up with the link below. Look forward to having you. Have a great day.